Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending this project update meeting about the Sunningdale Road and Richmond Street intersection improvements project. My name is Andrew Sercom, and I'm a manager with our communications division at the City of London. Before we get started, I want to let everyone know that we're recording this meeting, and a copy of it will be posted on the project's webpage at getinvolved.london.ca/Sunningdale-Richmond. That's getinvolved.london.ca/Sunningdale-Richmond. For some of us, the webinar version of Zoom may be a new experience, and I want to thank everyone for joining the call today. Please note that you will be muted for the presentation and your video camera will be turned off for the duration of the webinar. Today, the project team will be sharing a presentation updating you on the Sunningdale Road and Richmond Street intersection. Joining us on the webinar, we have Violetta Sepian, Project Manager from the City of London, Matthew Fabili, Project Engineer from the City of London, Carl Grabowski, Manager of Transportation Project Delivery from the City of London, and Josh Ackworth, the Project Manager from AECOM, which is the consultant working with the city on this project, along with a few others from the project team also on the webinar here for support. I next want to acknowledge that we are gathered today on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenape, and Attawandaron. We acknowledge all the treaties that are specific to this area. The Two-Row Wampum Belt Treaty of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, Silver Covenant Chain, the Beaver Hunting Grounds of the Haudenosaunee-Nanfan Treaty of 1701, the McKee Treaty of 1790, the London Township Treaty of 1796, the Huron Tract Treaty of 1827 with the Anishinaabe, and the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Wampum of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. This land continues to be home to diverse Indigenous people, First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, whom we recognize as contemporary stewards of the land and vital contributors to society. The three Indigenous nations that are neighbors to London are the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, Oneida Nation of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation, who all continue to live as sovereign nations with individual and unique languages, cultures, and customs. This land acknowledgement is a first step towards reconciliation. Awareness means nothing without action. It is important that everyone takes the necessary steps towards decolonizing practices. We encourage everyone to be informed about the traditional lands, treaties, history, and cultures of Indigenous people local to their region. Thank you. Some final remarks now about how we are collecting comments and questions before we begin the presentation. Today's presentation will be followed by a question and answer period. To ask your question, we ask that you please use the Q&A feature on Zoom. This icon is located at the bottom of your screen and is marked with the word Q&A. If you have a question, feel free to type it in at any point during this webinar, and we will answer as many questions as we can at the end of the presentation. To ensure that we don't miss anyone's questions, we have disabled the chat function for the webinar, so please use the Q&A button. Your comments are also welcome. Please leave a comment in the Q&A, and the project team will collect and review all of them after the meeting. Finally, we recognize that not everyone may be able to access this information online. The project team will also be available for an in-person drop-in session to answer questions and share information. This in-person opportunity to speak with the project team is tomorrow on Tuesday, January 16th, between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. at Stony Creek Community Center. That's 920 Sunningdale Road East. And with that, I'll pass it over to Matthew Fabili from the City of London, along with the team at AECOM, who will be leading the presentation. Over to you, Matthew.
Thank you, Andrew. I just wanted to take a minute to discuss the intent of this meeting, and it's really to provide an update on the current phasing and design progress that we've made so far on the Sunningdale improvements. A future meeting will be available prior to construction that'll speak in more detail to the construction timing and construction activities and impacts. Today's agenda, we're going to look at very quickly an overview of the Sunningdale corridor improvement goals, the project phasing, as well as AECOM will review the intersection design progress, walk through the drawings that outline the design features being included, as well as key impacts, reviewing the proposed construction staging, upcoming activities before construction, as well as we'll review future meetings and ways to stay involved and connected. Several key improvements were recommended as part of the Sunningdale Road improvements from Wonderland to Adelaide Street North. Those key improvements included improving the road's width from 2 lanes to 4 lanes, constructing sidewalks and cycling paths within the corridor, as well as intersection improvements at Wonderland Road, Richmond Street, and Adelaide Street North, and replacement of the Medway Creek Bridge, including a pedestrian path underneath, which will connect to the future pathway system. Next slide, Josh. Thank you. Just taking a quick overview of the phasing of the projects. Phase 1 was completed, and that was the roundabout construction at Wonderland Road and Sunningdale Road, which was completed and constructed in 2015. The second phase is the project we're discussing today, which is the Sunningdale Road and Richmond Street intersection improvements. The future phasing of Sunningdale Road improvements between Wonderland Road and Richmond Street and Adelaide Street are both continuing to progress, and we are evaluating all the phasing alternatives to expedite those improvements where possible based on securing necessary external approvals. Our immediate focus is to complete the section to the west between Wonderland and Richmond, and we are targeting a 2025 construction for that phase. I'll pass it over to Josh, who will review this project in more detail.
Thanks, Matt. So currently we're in the design phase for the Sunningdale and Richmond intersection, and we're at the 90% design milestone. Some of the key project design features are improving Sunningdale Road from 2 to 4 lanes between Village Walk Boulevard and Redford Road, construction of new in-boulevard bike paths and pedestrian sidewalks, reconstruction of Richmond Street between Village Walk Boulevard to Uplands Drive, construction of left and right hand turn lanes at the intersection, and then upgrades to underground infrastructure, including storm sewers and water mains, new street lighting and traffic signals, and new median islands and drainage. So these next few slides are just gonna show the pavement marking design as well as highlighting the cycling infrastructure, the grass boulevards, and the new road layout. From the EA, the widening is taking place mostly to the north. So any of the property lines along the south of Sunningdale Road will remain, and the road widening or road platform will be widened to the north. So in this intersection here, you can see that we've provided for cycling infrastructure through the intersection. North on Richmond from Sunningdale is going to be multi-use pathways at the edge of the property, at the edge of the right-of-way. And then on the other legs of the intersection, we'll have both sidewalks and dedicated cycle lanes. As you can see, we've got dedicated lefts and dedicated rights on Sunningdale and on Richmond. And then this is at Redford, and again, you can see where the project ends. Up at Village Walk, this is Richmond Street, tying into the existing intersection. And then as we progress down, you can see how we're going to tie into the new TD Bank and all of the additional plaza buildings that are currently built and just recently built. And again, this kind of shows where there's opportunities for some boulevard trees or plantings as well. And then this is Uplands Drive and a future right-of-way on Richmond Street. I just want to key in on one detail here, that Uplands Drive will be restricted to right in, right out access, and you'll still have full access at Redford and Uplands on Sunningdale and North Crest Drive on Richmond, south of this intersection. The proposed cross section for Sunningdale Road is 2 eastbound lanes at 3.3 meter width, 2 westbound lanes at 3.3 meter width, 1.8 meter bike lane in each direction, 2 meter sidewalks, and 3 meter turn lanes where applicable. And then we've also provided for splash zones and separation between the roadway and between the bikes and the sidewalk as well. This next slide is just showing that same cross section that I had previously had up, but it also shows some of the important underground infrastructure. So there's an Imperial Oil gas line, the new storm sewer, the existing 900 water main, and lots of other utilities like Bell, Rogers, and gas. This is a rendering of Sunningdale and Richmond at the intersection. You can see the houses on the right-hand side of your screen and the new buildings that were just put up on the left-hand side. So this is just a depiction of what the intersection is going to look like at the end. And then here's another view looking westerly at the intersection. So on this slide, you can see we've highlighted the areas of tree impact for tree trimming, bush removal, or full tree removal. In some cases, these impacts are minimal, and in other cases, it's a full tree removal. So if you look at the cute little tree in the left-hand corner there, sometimes we're not necessarily impacting the tree itself, but the root system. And because of the loss of roots, we don't feel that the tree is going to have good health after we impact those roots. So it's better to remove the tree than have it die and need to be removed in a couple years. Our proposed construction staging is to maintain 2 lanes of traffic, 1 in each direction at all times on both Richmond and Sunningdale. So stage 1 will build the Sunningdale Road north of the existing Sunningdale Road. Stage 2 will build the east side of Richmond. Stage 3 will build the west side of Richmond. And stage 4A and 4B will build the south side of Sunningdale. The reason for this staging is that the storm sewer needs to be installed to provide outlets. So rather than doing Sunningdale all at once and then Richmond all at once, we need to stage it this way for the storm sewer installation and the outlets for the storm. For traffic management, access to private properties will be maintained at all times. Emergency services will have access at all times. As Matt has already stated, there will be another meeting closer to construction. And excuse me, in addition to that, you'll have advance notification of any road closures should there be a need for them. And then any alternative routing and temporary traffic calming measures will be implemented where possible. And again, this is stuff that will be further detailed at our construction meeting. Upcoming activities before construction. In the winter of 24, you're going to see the tree removal starting and the tree trimming starting. Utility investigations will get underway with Bell and London Hydro needing to undertake their work. So, as I said, there will be future meeting before construction, and there's an in-person drop-in session tomorrow, Tuesday, January 16th from 5 to 7 at the Stony Creek Community Center. at 920 Sunningdale Road East. And any information or comments can be found at the getinvolved.london.ca website. I just like to thank everyone for their time today, and I'll turn it back to Andrew for the Q&A session, or unless Matt wants to jump in with anything that I may have missed. All
Thanks,
right, the
Josh.
floor is yours, Andrew.
So thank you, Josh, for the presentation. Just a reminder for everyone attending to ask your question, please use the Q&A feature on Zoom. This icon is located at the bottom of your screen and labeled Q&A. It also has two little speech bubbles above it. We already have a question that's come in, and again, we're here to help answer questions. If you do have a question about a specific property, though, or details that you would like to discuss individually with the project team, you can leave your contact information in the comment or contact us directly through email, phone call, submitting your question for the project webpage on Get Involved, and we'll be able to respond directly back to you as well. But I do see questions coming in, so let's dive into some of these questions. The first question I have is, does this design consider a future integration of an overhead pedestrian bridge on Richmond Street?
I can probably take that one, Andrew. Our project will connect into Village Walk, and from Village Walk, you'll be able to have access to the future pedestrian bridge over Richmond. That project, while I'm not directly involved with, I understand is still progressing in its design, and subject to some approvals, will be constructed in the upcoming years. So if the answer is yes, our project will connect in, not necessarily directly, but it will connect to the Village Walk sidewalk system, which will connect to the pedestrian bridge.
Thank you, Matthew. This next question I have is about safety precautions and traffic calming measures. Can we speak a little bit about what's planned around this project for traffic calming, and what we might be doing to address any concerns about increased traffic in the area around construction?
I can take a stab at this one as well. Traffic calming measures during construction to help limit kind of cut through traffic through the local neighborhoods. We are reviewing temporary measures to be installed along uplands through that uplands neighborhood, as well as the Village Walk Boulevard as well, and through the local development on the southwest side. So we are reviewing that, and we'll be implementing traffic calming measures that are appropriate to help mitigate those cut-through traffics to keep those local neighborhoods safe.
Thanks, Matthew. And along the same lines, are there any plans to lower speed limits on Richmond Street going north of the Arva area? Or north from Arva?
North from Arva, north of Arva, I believe, falls within the Ministry of Transportation's jurisdiction. So that would be out of our control to lower those speed limits. Our boundary ends just south of the Walden Park area as you kind of crest the hill. So we'd only have control over the limits up to that point.
Thanks, Matthew. This next question is about sanitary sewers. As part of this project, will the Uplands neighborhood be having sanitary sewer upgrades? If not, can we explain why?
I can take that one, Matt. So as part of this project, we will be extending sanitary sewer from the future road connection across Richmond Street to Uplands Drive. And then as part of future city infrastructure improvements, there will be the opportunity for that sanitary sewer. Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that a local improvement project? I think is what Mo had said.
Yeah,
So,
that's correct. That would have to be instigated through the local improvements process.
so we will be providing the outlet, but not the actual infrastructure itself.
Thanks, Josh. This next question is about traffic lights in the area. Has this project thought of implementing traffic lights further down on Sunningdale? This resident suggests perhaps off of Bluebell.
I think that's something that'll be addressed during detailed design of our other phases of the projects. So as Matt had previously stated, the first body of work after this intersection improvement will be Sunningdale Road between Wonderland Road and Richmond Street. And then we'll follow that with the next phase being from Richmond Street to Adelaide. That's not to say that if there's a warrant met that you couldn't install traffic signals. Again, the city would need to review that intersection and see what could be accommodated there.
Thanks, Josh. This next question is about phasing. Can we speak about when the second phase of Sunningdale connecting to Adelaide is going to take place?
Probably take this one, Josh. So the second phase, as Josh just mentioned, will likely be between Wonderland and Richmond. That area poses the least amount of challenges that we have in terms of external approvals. The section between Richmond and Adelaide poses some, more additional challenges in terms of getting external approvals from different authorities such as Imperial Oil, who has a pipeline within that area. We do need to go through them for a permit. So we're kind of working through that process currently, and we'll be evaluating where we can expedite those improvements where possible. So at this time, we don't necessarily have a firm time frame for that phase, but we are working diligently on the design and towards a solution there.
Thanks, Matthew. This next question is about that slide that Josh showed about the right in, right out at Uplands. The only turning right out of Uplands. What is the proposed timeline of that change?
So that would occur during the stage 2 and 3 construction. So it would be done late summer, early fall of 2024 in that time frame.
Thanks, Josh. The next question I have is, is the construction going to have any impact on well water?
I'm not sure if you have an answer for that, but I don't suspect it will. Should have mitigation measures in place for containing all water within the project limits. Not containing, but sorry, mitigating measures. I don't think there will be any impacts to well systems or underground sources.
Yeah, nothing that we're doing is driving down the water table, so I don't foresee any impacts to the water system.
And from a quality of water system, I don't see us having any impacts to the quality of water.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks, Josh. Next question I have is, currently there's an apartment building scheduled to be built on Village Walk. Is this going to be happening while this road construction project is underway? Yeah, a question about an apartment building scheduled to be built on Village Walk.
Maybe try to take a stab at. I'm, to be honest, not too familiar with all the developments and their timings that are happening within that area. Can certainly reach out to our partners in the planning and development section here at the city to get a better understanding of that timing. We have heard that there are some ongoing projects in that development that would probably occur at the same time as this project. But we can follow up on that item And Andrew, I'm not sure if we post that onto the Get Involved or we can reach out directly to inquirers.
Yeah, if you'd like a follow-up directly, please leave your contact information in the Q&A and we'll respond back to you. We'll also be taking frequently asked questions from this webinar and putting that onto the project page as well, included with the recording of today's presentation, so that anyone who wasn't able to attend today will be able to still have access to the information. The next question that's been submitted is, what is the budget for various improvements as part of this project?
Garfield, did you want to jump in here on this one? That might be more suited for you.
Sure. So I think I would just, thanks. I would just look to the project team for the intersection improvements themselves. And I know as part of the design process, we will be providing some information around that as the design progresses in terms of the overall intersection cost estimate. In terms of the overall corridor, which would span from Wonderland to Adelaide. This is one of our larger corridor improvements. It is a project that is seeking support or approvals through the current budget, the multi-year budget process for the city. And we have identified the need within the corridor for an array of improvements. The overall corridor costs, I think if we look at the entire section would be, and I don't have the figure right in front of me, but we'd probably be in the $60 million range, I would imagine, in that ballpark. And again, that'd be subject to multi-year budget approval. So that, as was mentioned, the project would be built in phases. So that would be over a number of years, and it would include some of the work already undertaken, such as the roundabout at Wonderland.
Thanks, Garfield. The next question I have is about bus lanes. Is there a future plan for dedicated bus lanes as well as part of this project?
Not currently. I think that's something that might be revisited after the multimodal level of service is complete and probably in the distant future. Matt, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think you've nailed the big point that so currently within this project we're not including a dedicated bus lane. I think Josh is right. It's going to be reviewed a part of the mobility master plan. What we can acknowledge is that there are bus routes that go through this intersection, and there are existing bus stops within the project limits that will be reinstated as well as improved with AODA compliant, so accessibility, compliancy with the Ontario standards, and larger bus pads and kind of safer areas for pedestrians to wait for transit.
Thanks, Matthew and Josh. The next question is about a traffic light in the area. Will there be a new traffic light at Richmond and Northcrest intersection?
Maybe I can jump on that, Josh. So part of the Sunningdale EA didn't look that far down towards that area. We have to reach out to our traffic section to see if that intersection is on their lists and on their monitoring list for upgrades to a traffic or signalized intersection. But part of this project, it's not being contemplated or included.
One thing I would just add, Matt, is that with new traffic signals, they need to meet a provincial warrant. So while the traffic volumes may seem high, they may still not meet that provincial threshold or warrant. So something to keep in mind when the city's going out and doing these studies.
The next question is about traffic lights as well. Why are traffic lights being used at the Richmond and Sunningdale intersection and not a roundabout as part of this project?
So during the EA phase of the project, a roundabout was considered and evaluated, and ultimately signals were recommended to proceed forward. And the biggest determining factor in this, among a lot of other factors that were taken into consideration, was the property required to install a roundabout.
Thanks, Josh. The next question is about a bus stop in the area. Are there any plans to update the bus stop on the north side of Sunningdale at Adelaide?
And probably grab that one. So that area falls within kind of the future phasing. So it wouldn't be included part of this project, but included a part of one of the future phasing projects. So part of our projects, we do evaluate all the existing infrastructure for transit, among other things, and make sure that they're reinstated. And we work closely with LTC on those items as well. So that would be part of a future project.
Thanks, Matthew. I don't have any other questions in the queue at the moment, but just a reminder for everyone that if you had friends or family in the area that weren't able to attend this webinar today, it is being recorded and going to be posted online. There's also the drop-in session tomorrow at Stony Creek Community Center at 920 Sunningdale Road East. The project team will be available for in-person conversations and to help answer any questions as well. See a few comments that have come in. Thank you for the comments. All the comments are going to be shared with the project team. If there are any other questions, please feel free to ask, and we'll be able to answer today. As we're beginning to wrap up, I again want to thank everyone for taking time today to join today's webinar. I want to thank our presenters from the project team who are able to speak to the work and walk us through today's presentation. Matthew and Josh, do you have any final remarks for everyone attending before we wrap up today?
I just like to say thank you for everyone who took the time out of their day to join us and your interest in the project. We look forward to hearing from you and seeing you hopefully tomorrow at our open forum at the Sunningdale and Adelaide YMCA. You can always reach out to us through the contact information that's provided here as well. And yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, just to echo what Matt said, thank you. And there will be additional opportunities to speak with us if you can't make it out tomorrow as well, because we will have a pre-construction update or call as well. And then the other phases of the project will also have consultation meetings or input meetings or update meetings, whatever we want to call them, where there will be opportunities to provide comment or look at more specific things like the Adelaide bus stop that is not necessarily in the context of this intersection project.
So seeing no further comments and questions come in over the last few minutes, I'm going to end the webinar, and thank you everybody for attending. The project webpage on Get Involved is going to continue to be updated throughout the project, so please come back to the webpage and you'll be able to stay up to date on the project. Thank you everyone, and have a great afternoon.